Avatar finally got its live action adaptation, and to be honest with you, it's alright. It's better than this pile of garbage at least, but it ain't no game changer. What's poppin' is shaman? Let's talk about it. And to be honest with you, this was a hard show to review as it's neither remarkable nor terrible. It's just meh.
Meh. What do you mean, meh?
Kind of if it lacks the impact of a transformative adaptation like One Piece, which is a wild because I think Avatar is way more easy to adapt to live action than One Piece. But for every good action scene, character choice, and story aspect that the show has, it's also taken down by subpar CG, bad dialogue, and omitted story elements. With that, I just want to give you a fair insight on the show because I did enjoy it some, but with some aspects, I know I'd be lying and saying that people wouldn't be turned off about this show for some of its flaws. One thing I'll say I like to rip off of this show is the amazing action scenes, as I think they did bending real justice in this, while also making it feel like you're watching a classic Kung Fu Jackie Chan movie with bending mixed in, as these scenes really flow nicely and really keep to the martial arts aesthetic of the original Avatar show, which I absolutely love. And thank Lordy that they stayed far as hell away from whatever M. Night Shyamalan was cooking up with this one. Did you just see what I did there? I showed you the clip instead of telling you about the clip, which takes us to our biggest problem with this show that many people have with it, and a lot of shows are doing a lot more lately: telling over showing. And I'm not just talking about exposition dumping, which this show definitely does as well. I am talking about when they just explain every single thing, do or feel. It is so weird. I mean, when you're talking about the type of dialogue that is so bad, you cringe a little. Like, I feel bad for the actors saying them. Like, even so far, they have the characters saying how they feel. Like, I'm sad, I'm angry. It's really off-putting. And it's like they're talking to the audience more than they are the characters. And you'll see it throughout the show, but here's a perfect example of just talking and telling too much. For example, when the Fire Lord catches an earthbending spy and tells him his whole master plan for a whole 2 minutes, then just to kill him. What was the point? He wasn't telling this man in the story, he was telling us, the audience watching. It easily could have been, you fell for my trap, kill him, and then tells people that everyone's eyes will be off of him. It's a small change, but it really matters, as it makes you not feel like you're being baby or handheld through a whole show. And with dialogue and things like this, it feels like they don't even trust their own audience to watch the show, which is kind of a slap in the face, because you gotta understand, people watch the show as kids and they're maybe rewatching it now. They understood it perfect back then and didn't have to get their hands held. I don't know why you're doing it now. Now to my next point, the story. And if you're asking, Shaman, was the story good at least? Well, yeah, I mean, it's Avatar, of course it's good. But to get more in depth on it, I did appreciate how they condensed down and made an amalgamation of various storylines to address important plot points early on, thus streamlining the story and cutting away unnecessary elements. But I do think, however, they needed to make this show a 10 to 12 episode series to give it more room to breathe. While I think the episodes they admitted were generally acceptable and didn't detract from the story, like the pirate episode, instead of them going through that whole adventure, they just gave Katara the scroll, which I think worked a little better. So I think most of their decisions were good here, except for one. The one that I think was super important. For some reason, I don't know whose decision this was. This was probably one of the most important episodes, is where Aang tries to learn firebending for the first time from Zhong and gets his fear of firebending once he burns Katara, is totally absent and was notably left out amidst the other episodes. I'm just saying, it's important. But I guess because one of my big gripes I'm about to say a little later is gonna probably shine a light on why they did it. Furthermore, the fusion of multiple storylines such as Jet's storyline, the Fire Nation, Inventor, and Boomy's, and my favorite Avatar banger, I think matched up well as a commendable effort to intertwine these narratives effectively. But just like you're gonna see in this thing, even though when they do something good, they kind of mess up in other aspects, as I think they did for Boomy's character portrayal, where they seem to just change him for no reason, unnecessarily, stripping away his charm and fun-goingness, and changing how the whole test he did for Aang kind of worked, where he was trying to mess with Aang and make Aang realize he still had friends friends, now he's just a grumpy old man, which kind of changes the whole dynamic between Aang and Bumi. And changes like this just flabbergast me, as I feel like this is such a big problem with this in many shows, where it's like they want to nostalgia bomb you constantly, but they also just love to slap you in the face with unnecessary changes, which is like the whole thing for the first 2 episodes is nostalgia bomb, nostalgia bomb, nostalgia bomb. They even have Gran for some reason say the whole Avatar intro.
But when the world needed him most, he vanished.
He said it! He said it!
Which to me was a little cringy. And understand, I'm not saying they needed to make it a 1-to-1 adaptation or make something totally new. There's a lot of people that do adaptations good, and then there's others that do them really bad. You just want your characters to feel like your characters and getting more of them, but seeing them in a fresh, new taken way. Like, one thing I thought was gonna be promising on paper was the addition of Azula, as I thought this would offer the opportunity to delve more into her character and her motives more. Yet the execution really just fell short of delivering anything truly remarkable and insightful. Introducing her later in the series would have honestly just been a better option, and letting the other existing characters have more room to breathe. Azula's really just there to be there. We didn't learn nothing new about her. And I don't blame the actress at all. I think it's more on the showrunners and writers, as I feel like they just didn't know what to do with Azula. And stuff like that is a repeating theme throughout this show when it comes to their characters, as I think some casting choices were good, but some just didn't hit the mark, and I think certain characters were just let down more by poor writing. It just felt like some characters got more love than others. Like when it comes to Zuko and Iroh, whose casting and character development to me were exponential and honestly better than the main characters. The relationship between Zuko and his uncle was portrayed beautifully, just like in the show, especially when it comes to the scene when they're mourning Iroh's son. Zuko comes to his uncle's side and stands by him, and you can see when Iroh really looks at Zuko as his own son now as well. And they hit you with that one Brave Soldier Boy song that, I ain't gonna lie, had me tearing up a little bit, which is so bittersweet to me, because you can see that this show had the making to be great. It was just dropped in the ball in some places. Where I think they did Zuko and his uncle really good in my book, they failed to flesh out Aang, our main character. They wrote this kid's lines like he was a piece of wood with no emotion. Honestly, that's an insult to Plank. Plank has a lot of emotions, and he's a good character. Aang, on the other hand, was treated bad, with the horrible writing really just putting him into a mere plot device rather than a complex individual with his own strengths and flaws. He really just is there to push the narrative forward. Like, I'm the Avatar, the story needs me to go here, so I go here. And this approach, in my opinion, undermines the depth of the storytelling. And when you get a chance to expand on Aang, he's always rushing somewhere. We don't just get to see him chill out and talk to somebody. He's literally always leaving mid-conversation. He meets someone, talks, and has to go, really making the show feel hella rushed. And also adding that he's a main character and he's supposed to be on this journey as the Avatar, despite repeating he's the Avatar every chance they get, they don't want you to forget for one moment that he isn't, which is so funny when you look back at the show and realize that the showrunners might have forgot that he is the Avatar. Through the whole Book of Water, his whole journey of being a waterbender, getting to the North Pole and all this, he never learns waterbending. He doesn't even try it once. So if you're a new viewer, all you think is that he's just an airbender that glows, which really undermines the whole point of the story in this character's journey and uniqueness, undermining his significance as the Avatar. Overall, the show has moments of brilliance, but it falls short and fully realizes its characters and its arcs, leaving much to be desired in terms of storytelling and depth and character development. But I guess you can think it poetic in a way, because I feel like Taoism is fully on explain as the theme of the show and in the production of it, because for every good there was bad. Like, there was a good Momo design, but Appa looked horrible. Zuko was a good character, but Aang is lackluster. The sets and costumes were on point, and they managed to capture the essence of the world, that at times it felt like it was missing something when it came to the unique creatures that inhabit that world and share it with the people. And it's really honestly to say, if you're not gonna do something fresh with a story, why do it at all? But that's my video. Thank y'all for watching. If y'all want another video to watch, here's one I can recommend y'all, and I'll see you next time. Peace.